Today we're going to talk about how you can take a positive habit and
Need to confess. Need to confess.
So what we're going to talk about today is honing in on the small detail, or optimizing your approach, and how this is ultimately a positive habit. It's ultimately something that shows that you're digging down deep, or you're getting into the process of what you're doing. And it's not something I want to discourage anyone from doing. I don't want you to stop looking at nutrition, training, recovery, looking at the small fine detail of how you can do things better, especially not within the realm of like your technique or your programming when it comes to strength training, because ultimately this is what's going to lead to big breakthroughs, or it's going to lead to you becoming a better athlete or better coach, or just better in the field of training in general. However, what I want to put across in this video is I don't want you to get caught up in getting anxious over the small detail. So for instance, when we look at something like protein intake over the day, over the week, over the year, what protein synthesis studies have shown is that to keep protein turnover high, or to keep net protein synthesis high or higher or elevated, and protein synthesis basically is just within a cell when amino acids are being utilized to create new tissue, or they're being used for repair of tissue. That's when net protein synthesis is higher. So that's when some process of cell repair or some process of tissue creation is happening. So to keep this activity high, we require amino acids to be readily available within the blood pretty much throughout the entire day, or for as long as possible. The more regularly, the longer that these raw materials are available within the body, within the blood, the longer this process is elevated, we end up in what's called positive protein synthesis, which basically means our positive protein turnover. It's another way of putting it across. Basically, we're in the process of anabolism, we're in the process of building muscle. So this is, if we're interested in muscle size, or we're interested in recovery from exercise, which we obviously are, this is a factor that we want to optimize. This is a quirk of physiology that we want to take advantage of. So to take advantage of this quirk of physiology, we should really be taking in some kind of protein every 2 to 3 hours, and that's going to elevate the amino acid levels in our blood, going to keep this process ticking over. That's a great thing to understand, and that's a really good thing to take advantage of. However, what we don't want to do is, if you're in a scenario where maybe you're at a birthday party, you're at a family event, you're somewhere where protein is not readily available, what we don't want to be doing is we don't want to start becoming anxious about it, start stressing about it, starting to worry about it. Like we talked about in the previous video, this is the circles of control. So if the fact that you can't go and get some protein, you can't get a shake, you can't get a sandwich, or whatever it is, if something outside of your circle of control has put you into a suboptimal environment where you can't enact this optimal behavior or take advantage of this fine detail, then it's not to worry, it's not to stress, because it's outside of your circle of control. Now, if it's something that's within your circle of control that's caused you to lapse on this optimization, or to miss this feeding opportunity, or to do something that isn't optimal, say, then what we need to do is we need to look at it with a cool, level head, and we need to think about what are the actions we can take in future to stop this. So if we're talking about the same quirk, the protein synthesis, the muscle turnover, if we're in a scenario where you haven't had food because you've not been prepared, maybe you don't have the money to go to the shop to get something, maybe you don't have food prepared, then it's to acknowledge what's happened, and then in future to try and rectify that problem where possible. So in both these scenarios, we don't stress over it. We assess it. If it's something we can't control, something we can't affect, then we don't worry about it at all. We don't expend any more energy on it. And if it's something we can control, then we take a logical look at it, we try to rectify it in the next instance. So it is something we want to do. We want to look at the small detail, the fine detail. What are the things we can optimize to help us in training or help us in recovery when we're looking at training, technique, recovery, or as we alluded to in a previous video, the mental aspect of training. These are positive things. It's something that we want to do actively. But then we don't want, in the same token, as we said before, we don't want to lose perspective. So for instance, again, going back to protein intake, if we look at the optimal protein intake for a strength athlete is 1.8 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, is a current consensus statement. So if we look at that, and that's something we strive for, and we want to be at the top end of that. So as a 100 kilo man, maybe we want to eat 220 grams of protein per day. If for some reason, for 4 days, we fall short of that, maybe we were 20% short of that, 25% short of that, perspective will tell us in the long run, that's not really that big of a problem. As long as we're consistently returning to these habits and trying to keep them up as best as we can, we're going to get the results that we want. Or at least we're going to get the vast majority. We're going to get 95, 98% of the results we want, and we're going to be happy about it. What we don't want to do is we don't want to stress. We don't want to lose perspective. We want to think, because I've eaten 150 grams of protein for the last 4 days, that for some reason I'm not going to recover, or some reason I'm not going to get as strong as I'm going to get, or this training cycle's a wash, or getting anxious and getting yourself out of perspective. Always stay grounded. Always remain with your feet on the ground. Remain grounded in the basics, and as long as you're doing the basics right. Even if you miss 2 training sessions in a week. So if we have a 12-week training cycle, we train 4 times a week. We have 48 sessions. If we miss 2 of those sessions, the net effect's not going to be a lot on the total volume load. So even missing training sessions in the grand scheme, even in a 12-week time frame, which is not really a grand scheme because you have 12 years time frame, you can have a 20-year time frame. So 12 weeks is not even a big time frame. But even within a 12-week time frame, if you miss a whole week, you've not even missed 10% of your training. So it may be a sizable chunk, but it's not going to massively affect the final outcome. It will have an effect. It probably is going to have an effect, but it's not going to be like a catastrophic world-ending effect. Maybe wouldn't have quite got the results that you wanted. So then, just to conclude, or just to draw a line under it, what we're looking to do here is we're looking to optimize what we can. We're looking to go within the fine detail, within reason. But what we're not looking to do is we're not going to let optimization, or we're not going to let the fine detail take us away from doing the basics consistently well. If you do the basics consistently well, you're going to get pretty much all the results you want. But if you're already doing the basics consistently well, and you want to up your effort, or you want that little bit extra, then you can definitely look to optimize your training. And it's something that I actively think is good. But don't fixate on it, and don't let it rule your thinking. Don't become anxious over this stuff. It's not worth it. Thank you very much for watching. This has been day 36 of Stronger by the Day. My name is Mark Keys. If you're watching this on Facebook, please hit the share button. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you tomorrow for your next Strongest Day. Goodbye.